In this video, I want to talk about what to do if you're experiencing some slowness issues with your internet. So first thing it's very important to note is, especially if this is your home internet service, what is it that you're paying for? You know, what plan do you have? Find out, check your bill. If you're not sure, call your provider and see if they'll tell you. But there should be a way, even if you have access to like an online account, know that information, so that way when you run, because what we're going to do is one of the first things troubleshooting is run a speed test, but how do you even know how to compare that unless you know with what you have? So I know for sure what I pay for is a plan that has a 50 megabytes down and 10 megabytes up. So let's go ahead and run a speed test and see how that compares. And I do know typically what the result should be. So let's give this a moment to run, because the first thing it's going to do is run a ping test to ping back to the server to check on the latency of the connection. And then it's going to first check the download speed, and then once it does the download speed, it's going to do the upload speed. So let's give that a moment here to complete. Alright, so you can see on the download speed I got 60.16 megabytes per second down, and which is to be expected, because I typically will clock close to about 60, even though I pay for 50, because I know where I'm at on this particular service. There's really no one else here on the line on this service provider, as I had it run specifically to my place, since they weren't here when I moved in. And then the upload, you see it's 12.05 megabits per second up. And I know I'm rated for 10, but again, same thing as a download. Not many people on the line, so there's a little more bandwidth used, so it's going to be faster. So I have really good speed compared to what I'm paying for. So that's the first thing to do. Okay, now that you know this, okay, oh wow, it's like really, maybe it's like really slow. There's a problem. Okay, well, next thing to do is reboot your equipment. So. And this is what most of the your service providers are going to tell you to do. So I would advise doing this before you call them, because it might even save you a phone call and having to go through the hassle, sit and wait in queue just for them to tell you this, and then be like, oh, okay, great, thank you. So reboot your modem, which usually means pull the power first and plug it back in. And then power cycle your router, because very likely you have a router. And then while those two are rebooting, reboot your computer as well. Because in the past, I used to call them all the time. When I used to have like a residential service, I'm now on a business class service. And every time I call them, they'd be like, reboot this, and reboot this. Those three things. So reboot your modem, your router, and your computer. And then once everything's back up and you've confirmed you can get back on the internet, come back, run a speed test. Now, this is my favorite site, speedtest.net, but if for whatever reason you can't make this one work, or it's somehow maybe whatever service you're on is blocking it, because I've seen that happen before, especially in like business environments, because they don't want so many people running the speed tests and using up the bandwidth, and that could be one reason, but other speed tests were available. So just do a Google search for speed test. And look, they have a built-in speed test, so you can run it. You just get a pop-up, and you can see it should give fairly similar results to what we got on the speedtest.net. So just to show you for comparison, I'm going to let this run. So we're about 58.8 compared to we were about 60 before. And on the other one, we were about 12 up. And looks like here we're going to be close to 11.5-ish. Oh, and then right at the very end, it dropped to 9.8, but for the most part, it was 11. Of course, here, this one, it's pinging to a server in Dallas, so it's a much higher latency, as you can see, and that's why there's a slightly slower speeds compared to what we were testing with was against a server here in Houston. So that's the other thing to kind of watch out for is pay attention to the server that you're testing against compared to your location. And then of course, if you got like for example, if you have Xfinity or Comcast, they have their own you can run. Here's another one I've used in the past, Speakeasy. And you can see there's just a whole lot, and a lot of providers have their own speed tests. So maybe even worth to check theirs out and then compare with some of these other non-affiliated ones for comparison. So that is basically it for checking it. And if you're still having problems after doing all this, then you should definitely contact your provider. Maybe they're having some intermittent issues, maybe they're doing maintenance work, or maybe there's a known outage in the area if you just can't get on at all. So all things to check out and try. And if you do able to get on the internet, it may even be worth to see if you can get on your provider's website and see if there's even a reported outage already listed, and that may even save you a phone call. Because typically, if there's like an outage or a major service disruption or issue, there's going to be a long queue of people calling in trying to get in. There's also, websites you can go to. So, for example, is Comcast down in Houston, for example, and you can look and you can do, like, for example, down detector, and you can kind of see the number of reported problems. And if it really spikes, then yeah, there's probably an issue. But with these little spikes, there's just no issue. So again, just a few quick tips and tidbits of information to check on if you're having some internet slowness or internet issues. So this is the final video. It's a total of 10 videos we did here for you in this video additions to the book you have purchased for mastering the Windows Basics. Again, any questions, feel free to reach out to me using the contact information in the book.